was real. Let me show you some of the numbers. He threw 12 touchdowns to him compared to just one interception, averaged 9.1 yards per attempt, and had a 91 total QBR. When he was throwing to other wide receivers, numbers not even close. He threw just 7 touchdowns to everyone else and 4 interceptions. So just how important Terry McLaurin is to the young Jaden Daniels.
I'm gonna let this clip play, but something like this really drives me crazy because Terry McLaurin is his wide receiver 1. Obviously, his stats are going to be significantly high. You're obviously going to have a better stats and better connection relationship with your number 1 wide receiver. It's like when they say, "Oh, the home, the home team more often than not wins game 7, right? Like significantly, like in basketball, baseball, these things." And it's like, yes, because the home team in game 7 is 99% of the time the better team. That's why they're the home team on game 7. That's how this works. So yes, they're going to win more often than not. That's how this works. So like they keep highlighting this as a way to be like, like what are you gonna do? And it's like, well, yeah, he's the wide receiver 1. It makes sense. Not only is Terry McLaurin obviously great, but it's like he's the wide receiver 1. This makes 100% sense. So I keep seeing this everywhere, and it's like it just starting to drive me crazy here.
Daniels, Adam, what can you tell us about the contract talks in Washington?
Well, Laura, let's not confuse Terry McLaurin reporting back to the team with him being any closer to a new contract. The two sides remain apart in their discussions for a new deal. Terry McLaurin came in because, frankly, it stops the meter from running on the $50,000 daily fines that he was incurring by staying away from the team facility and working out on his own. Now he gets to work out in the company of Commanders trainers, around his teammates, and there is no $50,000 a day fine. He's not going to call it a hold-in, but we can call it a hold-in because I do not expect that we would see Terry McLaurin on the football field until he has some sort of new deal, which the two sides do not appear to be close to getting at this point in time. Obviously, there's a disagreement over his value, and I think Terry McLaurin can look right away at DK Metcalf, a wide receiver this offseason who was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got $33 million a year on average. Terry McLaurin was in the same draft class as DK Metcalf. He has arguably put up better numbers than DK Metcalf. He can make a claim that he deserves more, but he is a couple of years older as well. And Washington obviously values Terry McLaurin, but not at the numbers that he's currently seeking. And so, again, they can use whatever numbers they want. The Commanders have numbers that they want. The two sides remain apart. Terry McLaurin's back, but a deal is not at hand right now.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely lingering way longer than you would have ever wanted. I mean, we're going into August now. Like, this stuff does matter. Especially with a young quarterback. A young quarterback, and you're now integrating someone as big as Debo. It's year 2 for Jaden, obviously. Year 2 with Jaden and Cliff. Like, this is not a team that's been together for a while. It would be a little bit different if they had been together for a few years, but that's also part of the problem because the people who are making the decisions right now were not also with the Commanders for a while. Right? They haven't been. This is all new. So it's a tricky situation. And you can point to someone like DK, but then you can point to like another contract like Cortland Sutton. I mean, in a lot of ways, similar in terms of not quality of play, but in terms of what they've kind of been dealing with a little bit with various quarterbacks and coaches and whatnot. Cortland Sutton was due like $15 million, I think it is 15 or 14 million, and Terry McLaurin $19 million, and now here's the deal here: 4 years, $92 million. That's not DK Metcalf. And again, I'm not saying they're the same level of receivers. Let's be very clear about that. I'm not saying that Terry McLaurin doesn't deserve more money. I'm just kind of drawing parallels to another wide receiver. Like, if the Commanders don't see Terry McLaurin as clearly this top wide receiver, you're like, okay, well then, like, what's kind of this general area then? Like, what type of range are we looking at? And you're talking about a deal that's like $41 million in guaranteed, including the $14 million that was already scheduled, and then it's $92 million contract extension. It's interesting. Both receivers are turning 30 in the beginning of this season, September and October. They both got around 1,000 yards. Terry McLaurin, 1,096. Courtland Sutton, 1,081. Definitely more touchdowns, obviously, 13-8. Better receiving percentage. But again, just a lot of parallels is really what I'm trying to highlight. And it's just like, I wonder if that's the range that the Commanders are looking for. But then you had someone like DK Metcalf, who had 992 yards and only 5 touchdowns. And it's like, but yeah, he is younger by 2 years, which that does matter. And the contract that he got was obviously incredibly healthy. You know, he got 5 years, $150 million, $30 million signing bonus. So that's, you know, the guaranteed as well, obviously. And guarantees a significant portion of money, including the first 2 years and $20 million of the third year. So you'd have to do the math there, but obviously way more guaranteed money than Courtland Sutton. And so it's just like, I don't know. Like, they don't do this a lot, but I would be so inclined to be like, hey, Terry McLaurin, we'll give you 3-year contract, and it's like 100% guaranteed or 80% guaranteed, right? Like we'll give you, I'm totally making up numbers here. Oh gosh, let me do this real fast. 75 million. Okay, yeah, so 75 million over 3 years, but it's 100% guaranteed or something. Like, I wonder if he'd go for something like that, because if you are 30, you're not gonna sign a 5-year contract. They're not locking you up until you're 35. I mean, I just don't see how that's happening. And then even 4 years to 34 doesn't seem. So it's just like, I wish we had a little bit more information on what the hangup was. Is it length of time, guaranteed money, the amount of money? I mean, we could look at the other wide receivers. Like, and this is always tough because you got the cap and then you got the cash spent, which is like, you know, including then guaranteed money and all of that. They make it so much more complicated than it needs to be, but you know, it is what it is. But Jamar Chase, 41 million, T. Higgins, 35 million, DK Metcalf, 35, Justin Jefferson, 31. I mean, like, that's the tough spot that the Commanders and Terry McLaurin is in right now, because he's kind of like, yo, I am a top wide receiver, right? Like, you're telling me T. Higgins is better than me or DK Metcalf is better than me? Like, we can throw out Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown and even CeeDee Lamb. Like, I get it. But, like, you're going to tell me Brandon Ayuk is better than me? Calvin Ridley is better than me? Mike Evans? Like, these guys aren't better than me. But they're like, yo, you want a deal, but, like, you're flirting with no longer being in your prime. Like, some of these guys sign their contract and they're years younger than you. So, yeah, we're willing to give you that. We're willing to give them that money at that time. And that's just the way it is. And he's like, well, I don't care. I'm playing at this level. Give it to me now. So it's just like, would he do 120 million for 3 years? 90 million guaranteed. Like, you would essentially be getting Courtland Sutton's entire contract guaranteed, 1 less year, and you would be getting paid now as a top 5 wide receiver. Like, it's like that's where the structure is, and what someone is willing to take, what someone's willing to offer. That's why it's so hard. I really stay away from a lot of the contract negotiations and conversations, because it's all made up to me. It's like, it's always funny to me when fans try to be like, I'd pay him 35 million, but not 32 million, but not 38 million or something. And it's just like, what are we basing that on? It's like, oh, 90 million was too much guaranteed. I would have only guaranteed like 75. It's like, oh, really? Was that what you would do? Like, none of us really know. And like, I always joke, it's like, these teams pay other people like hundreds of thousands of dollars to crunch these numbers to figure out how to make this all work. I'm not going to be able to figure out sitting on a chair, talking football, man. Like, it's just hard. And quite frankly, when you have a manager and an agent and you're kind of relaying this to Terry McLaurin, like, I don't even know how you make sense of it. Like, if you're the player and they're like, well, they'll give you 3 years for $90 million, or they'll give you 4 years, but like $100 million, but like less guaranteed this. And it's just like, right. Then you got to figure out, what do you value more? Like, what are the chances that you'll be able to get another contract somewhere else, and how much money would that be able to beat? Like, it's just, there's so many factors at play. And that's what's frustrating with a lot of these negotiations. Like, all we ever hear is like, oh, they're not close, or he wants more time, or he wants kind of this general range. And like, we don't really have the information. And it's not as standardized. Quarterback contracts seem to be a little bit more straightforward in terms of like, what Josh Allen is up for, and Lamar Jackson. Like, that's very obvious. It's a lot harder when you're talking about like, well, I don't know, how much should we pay Kirk Cousins? What about Baker Mayfield? What about, some of these other things? And with wide receivers, it's like, what the market is for the most part. What these other guys have gotten. We saw Jamar Chase. We saw T. Higgins. We see DK Metcalf. We just saw Cortland Sutton now. Like, we have this general range. We saw CeeDee Lamb last year. Like, we have some sort of, pool here. And so it's like, you're not just making anything up right now. And so it's just like, I wish we had a little bit better of an understanding of like, what do the Commanders want to offer him, and what does Terry McLaurin truly want? Because the fact that this is still what it is, it's a tough one. And you can tell, I think, that Terry McLaurin's already on slightly shaky ground. Because the fact that he's showing up, I get nobody wants to get fined and all of that, but he's like, the fact that you were originally willing to do it, now you're like, no, never mind, I'll go. Because $50,000, I understand these guys make a ton of money, but that does add up. 10 days, it's $500,000. You know what I mean? Like, it legitimately does add up, especially when you are only getting paid, essentially $19 million, but it's not $50 million. You know what I mean? When you're getting paid $50 million, it's like, all right, I can take $50,000 fines. Like, that's all good, whatever, But it's just different. So the Commanders do have a lot of power here, but at the same time, Terry McLaurin should have a ton of power because of what the Commanders can accomplish this season specifically. And just because you have an amazing quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and for the most part, you're going to believe that your Super Bowl window is his entire time there. We know teams ebb and flow. We know it's not always easy to get talent. We know the Commanders are guaranteed to draft someone one time who they think is going to be great, and he's not. And that's just what happens. Guaranteed there's going to be a time that you go out and get a free agent and you're really excited about, and it just doesn't work out, or he gets injured, and then the next season he's only healthy for like 5 games, right? Like, those things happen all the time, no matter what team you are. So when you do have a team, when there is that window, when there is that opportunity to win, there is the real argument of just like, you just got to go for it, man, because I have no idea what tomorrow is going to look like. I have no idea what the year is going, what next year is going to look like either. Doesn't mean you have to bet the farm. And like I kind of said in some of my previous videos, mortgaging the future doesn't mean you're sacrificing the future. That is the biggest confusion that I see people make when talking about some of these contracts. Mortgaging the future means like, yeah, the future can be up for debate. So you're not putting yourself in the best situation, but it's not an automatic bad situation. It's not an automatic negative situation. And it could end up being a great situation. And so you would be mortgaging / betting, we're going to pay Terry McLaurin now. And do we think he falls off a cliff 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And if he does, how much does that actually legitimately hurt us? And my argument would be not as much as the Washington Commanders seem to feel as though, right? Even if you had him for 4 years, right, we could probably pretty confidently say that 4th year won't be great. And let's say that 4th year is like $30 million. I don't know, man. 4 years from now, it's probably not that much money. And if you need to let him loose or trade him, or he's just not that it, and then you already drafted some other wide receiver or whatever, and now he's great, right? You just drafted the next Justin Jefferson. Well, one, pretty sure Terry McLaurin as like a wide receiver 2 or 3 is going to be pretty ballin'. Even if you're overpaying for him, still pretty great. And there's still the option to say, all right, we got to get rid of this guy. Some other team, some other young quarterback who, some other team just drafted some young quarterback. They need a veteran wide receiver. They just need someone good in the locker room. Like, there's always that way to kind of like move on from him, or someone else who would be desperate. Right, there's always plenty of these other options. Even someone like a DeAndre Hopkins, who obviously clearly was not as great as he was. Tennessee Titans were still able to like move him to Kansas City and stuff. Right, like there's still always a play to make. So trust yourself to be able to find that play, even if it's not really clear right now. And trust that you have a team right now that you can legitimately win. Don't sacrifice. And a lot of times people say like, oh, don't sacrifice tomorrow for today. But it's like, don't sacrifice today for tomorrow. Like it's that balance, man. It's that balance. So I don't know. It's just, this is definitely lingering way more than I thought. And, you know, Commanders fans have to face the reality that, like, this is not what you want to deal with when you just finished having an amazing year, getting to the playoffs, competing for a division, in the NFC Championship game, right? Pretty close game up until it wasn't. Like, you're right there, and it was deserving to be there. Deserving. Wasn't a fluke. Wasn't magic. It wasn't just random. Nobody got caught in the moment. Like, you know, there was no butterfly on someone's shoulder. Like, it was a team that succeeded because they were built to succeed and had players who can succeed. So don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of that because you're thinking, well, what about 2 years from now? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it matters right now. And if you got the coach and the quarterback ready or right, you'll find ways through it. And my last point, and unfortunately I'll have to keep saying this, is like, Cliff Kingsbury is a huge part of this offense with Jaden Daniels. Unless you absolutely hit a grand slam with your next offensive coordinator, there's going to be some growing pains and maybe even a coach or two to try to find that next OC to pair up with Jaden Daniels. So you have Cliff Kingsbury right now. They have an awesome relationship. They have an awesome connection with each other. And this is the type of offense that Cliff Kingsbury, you can make the argument, knows how to run and execute as high as it can go in the NFL. So give him the pieces right now. Don't try to play any of these games. You got Debo. You got, obviously, Jaden. Give him Terry McLaurin. You got him a better O-line. You have a good enough run game with especially an improved O-line. And with now more of a threat with, like, the Debos. You have Zach Ertz, who definitely probably has, like, a year left of being a true contributor. And don't underestimate what Zach Ertz can bring. Just from a leadership perspective. So it's like you have it right there. So just go for it, man. Sometimes you just got to go for it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders and Terry McLaurin and kind of what they have to do to maximize this season? And what should they do with Terry McLaurin? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.